بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. My dear sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Usually I'm on time, but today, as I was actually heading to come to the event here to be with you, a friend of mine handed me a flyer, a na'wa, as they say. So the na'wa, the eulogy paper, was about the death of the young man who passed away 2 days ago. And it happened that I know his family. I did not know that his grandfather is my friend. We're very close. So when I was handed the flyer, I thought it would be very appropriate for me to go and offer condolences to the family. So I did. That's why I'm late. So as we are talking about the subject, connecting with God, I think it is very relevant to talk about this particular incident. A young man who just turned 21, or I guess turning 21 soon. He hung himself on Wednesday night and he died due to a suicide. I was talking to his family. It was such a saddening moment to hear the details of his death that 10 minutes before his death, he called a family member and he asked for forgiveness. And when his family member asked him, "Why are you asking for forgiveness?" he says, "Because I'm leaving." So she thought he's traveling. But basically, what he meant by he's leaving, he meant he will be dying soon. Now, I remember the guy. I vividly remember him now. After seeing his picture, I remember seeing him during last Ramadan and Ashura at the Islamic Center. He used to attend almost every single night. And I also remember that after the lecture, he would participate in the Ladmiya. Khidr had some handicap issue. He was deaf. He wasn't able ultimately to speak as well, hardly. But he was a good person with good heart. Khidr suffered from depression. And you know, especially in our communities, in the Middle Eastern communities, we hardly give attention to handicapped people and their needs. And unfortunately, some of us would act as if they are not full human beings. We forget the fact that they are also human beings. They have emotional needs. They want to be loved. Khidr was suffering from lack of love. Not that his family did not love him, but to him, he wanted some expression of love from his family members and friends. Ultimately, this feeling led him to plunge in depression. And depression is a very vicious sickness. If you don't fight it the right way, it can be devastating. Today I spoke about, in the khutbah al-Jum'ah, about many people coming to me wanting me to help them figure out how I can help them. And after listening to them, I find out that these people are suffering from some disorder, mental disorder, depression or something similar to that, even though I'm not a psychiatrist, but I can tell. And when I tell people to go to the doctor, some of them are reserved. They don't like to hear that. They would rather go to Dix Avenue and find some of those people who consider themselves healers, but indeed many of them are, I'm not saying all of them, but many of them are nothing but crooks. People who would charge them hefty amount of money and would convince these people, the victims, that they have been occupied by the demons and they have to get the demons out of them, and that would cost $400. I don't know why $400. So they pay the $400 and they go through sometime painful procedure with those crooks, thinking that they will help them to get out of their dilemma, not knowing that these people can make their dilemma even worse. I was told that someone saw with his own eyes one of his relatives who was seeking those healers in Dix Avenue. The healer was beating her with his own bill, claiming that he's trying to get the demon out of her. Beating her so badly that she was bleeding, and the guy was calling on the demon to come out. And for some reason the demon didn't want to come out. And the man kept beating her. We need to be very objective, and we need to be aware of these issues. Today, unfortunately, this issue, the depression, even though that was not my main discussion, but I believe that's somehow connected to being connected to Allah. Some people think that in order for me to be religious, having depression means I have weak faith in Allah. Is that true? No. Having depression doesn't mean that you have weak faith in Allah at all. Depression is just like any other, disorder that needs treatment. Just like when you have a problem with your heart, God forbid, you go to cardiologist. When you have a problem with depression, you go to a psychiatrist. It is chemical imbalance that needs treatment, and we should not be ashamed of seeking treatment. Being connected to Allah, I know that being connected to Allah through dua is excellent. It works. But also, when medical treatment is needed, I should not shy away. I should not feel ashamed of myself for seeking medical treatment. My dear brothers and sisters, there is something about this society. When people advance in technology, they thought that their life will be much happier by the invention of, cars, airplanes, computers, iPhones, things that people never had access to 100 years ago. People thought that their life will be happier, but that was not true at all. None of these things will make us happier in life. Maybe it makes our life easier, but not happier. And there is a huge difference between having an easy life or a happy life. I always, when go to the Middle East, especially to Iraq, for example, where you barely have maybe 6 hours of electricity a day, I see people are physically suffering, but they don't have many of the mental problems that we have in this country. They don't have a drug issue. They don't have a problem with, having a deteriorated family relations. If you read the news, almost every single day, a young man kills his own parents, his own father, or his own mother in this country, killing his wife, killing children. The media is talking these days about this guy, Jared. His name is Jared. A man who was supposed to be a role model for many Americans. A man who succeeded in losing weight, but he failed in being a good human being. We spend billions of dollars. American people spend billions of dollars. Over $40 billion a year, American people pay for losing weight. They go to the gym, they go to the fitness club, spend countless hours of exercising just to lose some weight. But do we do the same thing? And do we spend the same amount of time in purifying our souls? Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib has a beautiful expression. He says, people do riyadh, sport, do riyadh, exercise, to lose their weight, to lose weight. He says, I also do riyadh. I do sport as well. I exercise, but a different type of exercise. وَإِنَّمَا هِيَ نَفْسِي أَرُوضُهَا بِالتَّقْوَى لِتَأْتِيَ آمِنَةً يَوْمَ الْفَزَعِ الْأَكْبَرِ. He says, I do exercise as well, but not the physical exercise that you guys do. I do spiritual exercise. I spend so much of my time in spiritual exercise, in being pious and reaching a higher level of piety. What do we lack in this country? Truly, what do we lack? Do we lack money? No, we are the most richest nation on earth. The most powerful nation on earth, the most educated nation on earth. Then why we have the largest number of inmates in the United States? Why we have the largest number, the highest number of robbery, theft, and rape in the world? Because of the lack of morality. A doctor, I don't know if you heard about him or not. I'm sure most of you heard about him. A month ago, he was indicted in this country. He made over $40 million. $40 million by tricking his patients, deceiving them into chemotherapy treatment by telling them they have cancer while they never had cancer. He made his patients go through painful medical treatment based on the idea that they have developed cancer and they never had cancer. Why did he do that? So he can charge their insurance company, so he can make more money. Hundreds of patients were suffering physically and emotionally. You know, when you are told by your doctor you have cancer, some people can't take it. It can have a heavy toll on our mind and our personality. So these people had to suffer emotionally and physically, going through unnecessary, painful procedure. Why? What did this man lack? Education? No. What did he lack? He lacked faith. He lacked faith. The Arab poet puts it in a very beautiful term. He says, إن كان للعلم من دون التقى شرف لكان أشرف خلق الله إبليس. He says, if knowledge without piety can have any merit, then Iblis, the shaitan, would be the most honorable person because he is such a knowledgeable person. Shaitan has knowledge but has no piety, no faith. He's very knowledgeable but has no faith. If knowledge without morality has any merit, then the shaitan would be number one model. But education with no faith means nothing. It could mean disaster. Just as we see in this case, the case of this doctor, who used his knowledge, his medical expertise, not in helping people, rather in hurting people. Why? Because this man lacked morality and lacked faith. A rebellious man would always argue with his father. His father tells him, I don't see you becoming a good man. I don't see you going to be, as we say in the Middle East, Adami, a good human being. The son would be rebellious, would disrespect his father, and he says, no, I will be a great person. The father tells him, through what I see in you, the way you treat your parents, you're not going to be a good person, even if you become educated. He says, I am becoming educated, and I will show you what a great man I will be. He left the village, he went to the city, he graduated from college, he got his degree, he joined the government. 15, 20 years later, he became the prime minister. He's walking the street one day with his entourage when he sees an elderly man. He recognizes that elderly man to be his father. So he asks his bodyguard to go and bring that elderly man. He says, you see that elderly man? They say, yes. Go get him for me. His father was walking the street. He came from the village to shop from the city and go back. All of a sudden, he sees 5 bodyguards surrounding him and physically forcing him to go with them. He says, what's wrong? What did I do? He said, well, we don't know. The prime minister wants you. He says, the prime minister wants me? What does he want from me? We don't know. He just saw you and he said, bring that elderly man. He says, but I have nothing to do with the prime minister. They said, well, that is his order. We have to take you to the prime minister. They bring him to the prime minister. He does not recognize the prime minister as his son. But his son recognized him, recognized the father. He says to the father, do you recognize me? He says, no, who are you? He says, I'm your son. Remember? We always used to fight and argue. I'm your son. He said, yeah, I remember you now. I remember you. He says, look at me. Look at me. You always challenged me. You told me you're not going to be nothing. Look, I became the prime minister of this country. You always told me you're not going to be anything. The father looked at him and he says, son, I said you're not going to be a true human being. I didn't say you're not going to become a prime minister. and you still have not become a good human being. To be a human being, true human being, good servant of Allah, a good human being, doesn't mean, if you become a prime minister, doesn't mean that you are a true human being. So, I believe that one thing we need to always keep in mind, my dear brothers and sisters, is how we go about that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we keep the distance with Him. Is He far away from me? How hard I need to work to get to Him and to keep on my side? Is it so difficult to keep Allah on my side? No. No, indeed. It's not difficult at all. He's not too far at all. If you read Dua Abu Hamza, which is a very rich dua, rich with many concepts, beautiful concepts. Please read that dua. If you read it in Arabic, if you don't, read in English. In one line, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam says, وَأَنَّ الرَّاحِلَ إِلَيْكَ قَرِيبُ الْمَسَافَةِ. Those who travel to you, they don't have to traverse long distance. وَأَنَّ الرَّاحِلَ إِلَيْكَ قَرِيبُ الْمَسَافَةِ. The one traveling to you should traverse a very short distance. وأنك لا تحتجب عن عبادك إلا أن تحجبهم الأعمال دونك. You will not be away from me. What makes you away from me? My own deed, my own sins. When we become so attached to this dunya, everything in my life revolves around this dunya. My food, my car, my business, my house, my. Everything becomes mine. Everything becomes me, and I become the center of the world. That is the danger. That is the danger. When I see the world through my own lenses, when I see the world as nothing but a tool for my own well-being only. That is the problem. When I see nothing in this dunya other than indulgence, wanting more and more and more. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, those who seek dunya, they are like a person drinking from the ocean. A thirsty person drinking from the ocean will never quench his thirst. Indeed, the ocean water will make you even more thirsty. إن طالب الدنيا كشارب ماء البحر ما ازداد شربا إلا ازداد عطشا. The more you drink from the ocean, the more thirsty you will be. This is the nature of this dunya. The more we want, the more we get blinded. The more we become indulged. The more we become entangled. To be a good Muslim does not mean that you live a very simple life. No, you can enjoy life. Indulgence. Indulgence, what makes you a good person or not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you to enjoy your life, but He says, don't indulge. Don't indulge. The minute you indulge, you know, people love swimming. They love swimming. But at the same time, if you don't know how to swim, you may drown. You need to be careful when you swim not to drown, so you can enjoy your swim. Good done. Is that why you came and sat here? Okay. So I know it's time for Salah, and most importantly, it's time for pizza also. Because I see that the pizza arrived and some people are becoming extremely impatient. So I'm going to conclude in 2 minutes. Again, there is a line in Dua Abu Hamza al-Thamali. Very beautiful. He says, Ilahi akhrij hubb ad-dunya min qalbi. Get the love, the passion, the attachment of this dunya, get out of my heart. The Imam is not saying, make me not enjoy my life. All he is saying, he says, take that attachment from my heart. You can enjoy life, but without being so attached to it, without being indulged. So you can enjoy. If someone does not know how to swim and want to swim so badly, he may drown. Especially if you go deep. If you try to dive, you don't know how, you may drown. But if you know how to swim, even if you go deep, you will not drown. So, connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mean that you disconnect completely physically with this dunya. There are two types of detachment, physical and emotional. We're not supposed to physically be detached. We live in this dunya, it's okay to enjoy it, to have it. But we're supposed to emotionally disconnect. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, to be pious, لَيْسَ الزُّهْدُ أَنْ لَا تَمْلُكَ الشَّيْء وَلَكِنَّ الزُّهْدُ أَنْ لَا يَمْلُكَكَ الشَّيْء. He says, real piety is not that you do not possess objects and things. Real piety is you are not obsessed and possessed with things. You can possess the world, but don't let the world possesses you. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات أحياء منهم والأموات تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك قاضي الحاجات إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نقرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة.